Hello everybody out there and welcome to this, another edition of a late night screen review. This week we're talking about Poor Things. Poor Things.
Bella, this is Mr. McCandles.
Hello, Bella.
Sam, for it is a happy tale.
I am Bella Baxter.
Oh.
So this is another movie by the acclaimed film director Yorgos Lanthimos. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that name, I'm not very good at that kind of thing. So he's famous for like The Lobster, and I think, what was the other, I can't remember the other name of the movie. And 2018's The Favourite. So this guy's not a stranger to kind of these weird, kind of kooky, crazy, kind of ethereal movies, and Poor Things is no exception. So what's the story about? If it's about anything at all. So this film tells the story of Bella Baxter, who is a woman that has been brought back to life by a kooky, crazy scientist played by William Dafoe. So this is a kind of modern retelling of that classic film, Dracula. No, I mean Frankenstein, of course. A little joke there. And from there, she goes on a crazy whirlwind adventure. She kind of runs away with, I think he's some sort of like hotshot lawyer. And it's kind of set in this weird dystopian turn of the century kind of time, where things aren't quite right. Things are just a bit off, a bit strange. There's like flying machines and all kinds of bits and pieces. But it's got that kind of turn of the century feel. And she goes on this whirlwind romance with this guy and just kind of explores the world and sees things, the good and the bad. And we kind of get her perception of reality, of the real world, as she goes through the world. And that's kind of the movie. This film isn't one of those kind of films that has this set kind of plot. If you've ever seen this director's other movies, you'll know that the kind of plot isn't just a straightforward narrative. There's usually a lot of metaphor involved, a lot of subtext, and there's always like a kind of bigger theme, bigger message behind the kind of crazy, weird stuff that you're seeing on screen. And this film is no exception. So what did I think of the movie? Where's my tea? There it is. So I'm only kind of vaguely familiar with Lanthimos's like prior work, most particularly the Lobster movie. And these films, if you've never seen one before, they are very strange. They are beautifully shot. The set dressing, the locations, the costumes and things like that, they're all very quirky, very strange, very otherworldly, dreamlike scapes. As I say, the narratives are not that there's not no narrative, but it's never a straightforward line, if you know what I mean. And this film is definitely no exception. This is one of the most beautiful films I've seen in the last like 5 or 6 years. The landscapes are stunning. I kept watching this movie and turning to my partner and just sort of going like, can you see what's on the walls? And in that, you know, just as Bella, the character, walks into a room, you just look at the ceiling, you look at the walls, you look at the carpets, the floors. Like, your eyes are just drawn all over the place because everything in this movie is just highly layered, highly detailed, beautiful, weird, exotic, strange. Things that you've never seen before in a film. Especially if you're not a massive kind of surrealist viewer of media. You know, you're not into kind of surrealist, strange things. And so, like, this film is so much more than the kind of baseline story. There's a lot more going on here. There's a lot more in terms of the subtext, in terms of the kind of metaphors and messages behind this movie. There's many, many layers. It's a film you definitely need to see more than once. But I've got to say, like, Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, William Dafoe, absolutely standout performances. Incredible performances. Every time that a character spoke, it was like something out of a Quentin Tarantino movie, and so I was just like engaged in everything that was being said. You know, the dialogue is strange in some parts. It's weird the way people speak, or how they speak, or what they say. The stuff that comes out of people's mouths will leave your jaw dropped. Some of the things that Bella does as the main character, she starts off as, you know, she's just being brought back to life, and she's kind of this kind of almost like a baby, and she's learning words and concepts and right from wrong and this, that and the other. And then she's developing as you go along, so her language is becoming a bit more kind of strung together. But in some parts it's very stilted and broken, and she's using, you know, wrong words, or her legs aren't working properly. Like, Emma Stone it's an absolute tour de force. It really is. You could hate the story of this movie and still be absolutely blown away by the acting, the visuals, and the set design and the costumes. Brilliant. The only thing I will say is I wasn't a massive fan of the soundtrack, the score. There's something about the score that just kind of put me off, or it just brought me out of the movie, and I can't quite put my finger on it. I've literally just seen the film, and again, because it's one of those films there's a lot to process, I kind of need to go see it 2 or 3 more times. But this is just my initial reaction. Like, I really enjoyed this movie. For me, I will be honest, there's a couple of things that I didn't enjoy. I think the score was one of them. It was just a bit weird in some places. I didn't quite like it. It didn't gel for me personally. I think some of the scenes went on a little bit too long and kind of laboured their points a little bit. Like, for me, I like to think I'm pretty quick, and I kind of like, oh yeah, I know what's happening here. I get what the filmmakers are trying to say, and then I feel like the scene, just on a couple of occasions, just went 2 or 3 steps a bit longer, and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. I get what's happening. I also think that some of the points the film was trying to make, it was trying to say, like, here's this big kind of idea about society or about the world in general. Is it good? Is it evil? You know, blah, blah, blah. And I just think it laboured on some of those points a bit, you know, it kind of kept trying to hit you over the head a little bit. You were like, I get it. Like, let's move on. I get it. Or can we do something else, or go over here, or speak to these people? And that only happened a couple of times, to be fair. For the most part, like, this film is incredibly well acted, incredibly well shot, designed stunningly, and it's just beautiful to look at. Every scene, every setting is like almost like a painting on its own. It's absolutely incredible, and I think I would say it's probably Lanthimos' greatest work thus far. Again, it's not without its flaws, but you can easily look past those bits and pieces, those little nitpicks, and just see the greater picture. It's hard to quantify within like a 6, 7, 8 minute review. It's just not really possible. All I can say is that it's an engaging story that's acted incredibly well. The characters are so engaging. They pull you into this movie along with them. You will see some crazy ass stuff in this film. Things that made me laugh out loud because I couldn't believe what was kind of happening on the screen. You see, Bella is basically raised in this massive house that belongs to the scientist, who's played by William Dafoe. But he has other experiments running around the house, and it's like half dog, half duck kind of creature, and it's quacking and barking at the same time, and it just comes out of nowhere. If you're not into big thinking films, if you don't really care about kind of having big existential questions talked about, then I would give this one a miss. But for me, this is one of the most kind of visually stunning, beautifully acted movies that I've seen in years. And I think it'll be a little while before I go back to it. I want to think more about it and then revisit it. As I say, it's not one of those films you could just watch and watch and watch and watch over and over again, but it is, I think, in many senses of the word, a great movie. So that's it for my recommendation for Poor Things. I've probably got a lot more to say about it, and I think I'll probably come back to this director and do like a retrospective on the director, because I think he's really worth it, and I've actually been wanting to do some retrospective type videos. So keep your eye out for those in the future. But until next time, guys, stay safe, stay scared, and we'll see you soon. Bye.